And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And once again, I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday. So I got wrapped up with the football podcast, and we are now here discussing the World Series and some other things as well on today's show here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. So before we get into specifically what we will be talking about, besides the World Series, I just want to remind you guys, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that's streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that gets your comment recognized. It makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you, the viewer. And again, that makes you part of the show. That's really what it's all about, is the interacting between me and you guys. So what we have on tap for today is we will recap the World Series. I'll go through all the games because obviously, the last time we did a show, that was the day of the World Series. That was Game 1, and the World Series ended up only going 5 games. We'll go through all of them really quickly. And then in the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Corey Seager and Bruce Bochy and the achievements that they got from these playoffs, from the World Series, their milestones. We'll talk about that. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the Silver Slugger Award finalists. We'll go through the list of the players that are up for that award for 2023. And then in the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the San Diego Padres and their money troubles and why that could lead to a possible trading of their star player Juan Soto. So that'll be to end the show, so you don't want to miss that. So let's get right into the first topic, which is talking about the Texas Rangers winning the World Series. The baseball season is now over. We have a world champion, and that is the Texas Rangers. And for the Rangers, listen, they finished off the regular season on a bad note. I mean, they choked the division to the Houston Astros. They were going up against the Rays. They finished at 90-72 on the season. And going into the playoffs, I mean, myself included, I took the Rays in that. I gave the Rangers a good chance, and the Rangers ended up sweeping them. They ended up sweeping the Orioles, which I said they could definitely upset the Orioles, and that happened. But then I had them losing to the Astros. I said the Astros would win in 7. And the Rangers ended up winning in 7. And then in the World Series, I wanted to give the Diamondbacks some respect. I wanted the series to go the distance, go 7 games, and the Rangers ultimately win it. But the Rangers won in 5 games. They looked like the much better team in this series against the Diamondbacks. After Game 2, where they lost 9-1, and then you lose Adolis Garcia and Max Scherzer. So in the same game, pretty much, that was Game 3. You were a little nervous for Texas because Adolis Garcia has had a great postseason, and losing him that was going to be tough, and obviously Max Scherzer, that kind of leaves the rotation a little shorthanded. So then you figured maybe that this is a break the Diamondbacks needed to get back in this series, and that wasn't the case. The Rangers took the final 2 games, and they end up winning the World Series, and it's the first time in franchise history that they indeed did that. Because Max Scherzer. But the thing is, Max Scherzer actually pitched. He was pitching pretty well before he got hurt in the game that he pitched, and that was Game 3. He went 3 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned run, or 2 walks, 1 strikeout. He gave up no runs. The bullpen did its job. Adolis Garcia, like I said, he got hurt, an oblique injury. Scherzer was a back injury. But yeah, and the Rangers won the final game 5-0. So actually, we'll run through the games really quickly. So Game 1 was awesome. I mean, the Rangers were losing going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and the World Series MVP Corey Seager going up against Paul Sewald. He had a 2-run home run to tie the game, and then Adolis Garcia hit the walk-off home run, and the Rangers won the first game. So, you figure, okay, that was a game that they stole with their clutch hitting by their guys. And then game 2, the Diamondbacks dominated. Merrill Kelly pitched really well. They won 9-1. Tommy Pham went 4 for 4 in that game. Corbin Carroll went 2 for 5. So to me, after that game, I'm like, this series is going to go back and forth. Then Sunday was an off day. You go to game 3. Rangers pitched very well in that game. They won 3-1. I think did Corey Seager hit a home run in this game? Yeah, he did. He hit a 2-run home run. That put them up 3-0. Diamondbacks only scored a run, so they lost 3-1. Then Rangers won. They were up 10-0 after the third inning, and that actually ended up being a final score of 11-7. So the Diamondbacks ended up making it close, but again, the Rangers, they were ahead by so much. It was too much to overcome. But they won that game. Andrew Heaney pitched well, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts. So they won game 4, and then game 5 they won 5-0. Nathan Eovaldi finished off the postseason going 5-0 with a 2.95 ERA. So you could have looked at him, and maybe he could have been the World Series MVP as well. Zach Gallen did pitch well himself in the game. He went 6 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, but again, the Rangers, they won that game. Paul Sewald, he gave up 4 earned runs in the 9th inning. So he was having a good postseason, and then you got to the World Series, and it just all fell apart. Let's actually look at his stats for the World Series. So in the World Series, he pitched in 2 games, 27 ERA he had, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs. Yeah, the opponent's batting average was 500. Because you go back to the League Championship Series, he had an ERA of 0 in 4 games. Didn't give up any runs. Well, yeah, 0. Earned run average of 0. Opponent's batting average was 77. You go back to the Division Series, he pitched to a 0 ERA this year in the Division Series in 2 games. Opponent's batting average was 143. And then in the wild card round, it was 143 as well. And he also pitched to a 0 ERA in that as well. So, yeah, I mean, he was great. And then you get to the World Series, and, I mean, you give up the tying home run to Seager in Game 1. And then, the Rangers capitalized on his struggles in the 9th inning. In Game 5, they put up 4 runs in the 9th inning, and that was it. And the Rangers win. And I did put out a short, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the Diamondbacks, because a lot of people doubted them. Really nobody gave them a chance to really get to this point, making the playoffs. At 84 wins, but listen, for me, I had them upsetting the Brewers, but I didn't expect them to sweep the Dodgers and then win games 6 and 7 in Philadelphia in the championship series. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable run for them. Obviously, the wheels kind of fell off here in the World Series. I mean, the Sewald didn't pitch well. Blowing Game 1 was huge. I mean, the Diamondbacks could have been up 2-0 going back to Arizona, but yeah, what a great run for them. But they got nothing to be ashamed of. They got some good players moving forward that are their core, that are going to be a huge part of their future. I mean, Corbin Carroll, Rookie of the Year, he was great in these playoffs. And the trade they made with the Blue Jays, getting Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Christian Walker, and their pitching staff. I mean, Merrill Kelly, and of course Zach Gallen. So they got some pieces, of course, going into next year. This core, I shouldn't say the pieces, but the core they have going into next year. I think this team is still going to be a decent team moving forward. Coming in at 84 wins. Again, nobody really gave them a chance, and they, behind good pitching and clutch hitting in the playoffs. I mean, they got to this point, and they should be a good team next year. Build off of this year. Now, again, they got hot at the right time. So obviously, like, we're way early, into the off season. So like, it's too soon to predict anything. But you figure this team should be back, in the playoffs next year. But we'll see. But as for the Rangers, I mean, congratulations to them. Um, a lot of guys winning their first rings. Marcus Semien, Jordan Montgomery. All the young guys that they brought up during the season as well. Jacob DeGrom technically won a World Series this year, and he really didn't pitch that much. But guys that have been there that have won it already: Scherzer, Evaldi, Chapman, Corey Seager, of course, Bruce Bochy, the manager. I mean that was the key to all this. I mean, the Rangers getting him, what a great move that was. Because I figured the Rangers were going to win the World Series when they, obviously with this matchup. I picked them. I thought they were the better team in this series, coming into the series, and that was the case. And I thought you give the manager edge to the Rangers here, and that was the case. And now he's won his fourth championship. Corey Seager now his second World Series MVP. What a ride it was for them, and there were some ups and downs because, that last, month or so towards the end of the regular season, they definitely were struggling, and, it looked like possibly they might fall out of the playoffs, with how they were struggling. But, they were, from choking the division lead to what they've done. I mean, what a run, really. They got hot at the right time. They got a great core moving forward, got a great mix of, veterans and young guys. So this is a team that should be good for a long time. And you got Bruce Bochy as the manager, so they got stability there. This team is like I said, this team should be a great team for years to come. Listen, they signing Semien and Corey Seager to those big contracts. Obviously, the first year they didn't really do much. They didn't make the playoffs or anything, but I thought what they did in the offseason before this year, getting Evaldi, obviously getting DeGrom, but that didn't, pan out the way they hoped for it. You get Andrew Heaney, you improve the rotation. And then what they've done, with trades, trading for Aroldis Chapman, who, listen, people were like, why did they do that? And he blew some games, but guess what? When he pitched in the postseason, although there were a couple of times where Rangers fans were like holding, covering their eyes, Chapman did good in his role. And Leclerc, as closing it out, he did well outside of when Altuve hit that 3-run home run, the go-ahead home run in game 5 in Texas, the championship series. He's been solid, but getting Montgomery, getting Scherzer at the deadline. Montgomery was great in the postseason. He's going to get paid. The Rangers, they had a very good team. And, listen, you're still going to like the Astros to win the division. A lot of people probably are, even though they're looking for a manager at the moment. But this Rangers team is going to be good for years to come. They're not going anywhere. So, again, congratulations to them. And, now the baseball season is over. So, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to talk about. But we got a bunch of stuff to talk about on the show today. So, we'll continue our discussion here with the Rangers winning the World Series. Because we're going to focus next on talking about the manager and the shortstop for the Texas Rangers in the second segment. So we're going to talk about them when we come back from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the manager and the shortstop for the Texas Rangers here, Corey Seager and Bruce Bochy. Obviously, these two guys achieved, they had some milestones that they achieved on this past week with the World Series. So Bruce Bochy, well, actually, we'll go through Corey Seager first. So actually, because I have Corey Seager's stats from the postseason, so I just wanted to get that up. 1 second here. And we'll obviously go through the graphic once again in a bit. Towards the end of the segment. But so these are Corey Seager's numbers in the postseason for his career and also for this year. So up top is this year. So you got a .318 batting average, 6 home runs, 12 RBIs, and 1,100 OPS. So he was great in the postseason. His career postseason numbers: 254, 19 home runs, 48 RBIs, and 858 OPS. So, I mean, listen, when Adolis Garcia went down, yeah, like I was concerned because that's a huge bat that they were losing, but they still had a good lineup where it really didn't matter. I mean, they didn't skip a beat. I mean, the other thing too that I think I mentioned, I might have forgot to say it, but they went 11-0 on the road in the postseason this year. I mean, that is insane. Like, you would have thought Houston was going to win at least one of their games back at home in the championship series, and that wasn't the case. And the Diamondbacks, they've played well at home as well in the playoffs, and the Rangers swept them in Arizona. So credit to the Rangers. I mean, will that ever happen again? Probably not. But we'll see. You never know. So in 5 games in the World Series, so Corey Seager went 6 for 21. So that was a .286 batting average, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and he had an 1,100 OPS in the World Series. And this is his second World Series MVP. He won his first one with the Dodgers. I mean, listen, that Game 1 home run was huge. I was like, wow, like that was huge because the Diamondbacks bullpen has been great, these entire playoffs, and I didn't think it was going to happen, and of course it did. And you know what? Like, that was a great signing for the Rangers getting him. I mean, listen, as a Yankee fan, I would have loved if the Yankees were able to get him. But, I mean, what a player he's been. And also, what's funny is a reporter asked him a question, about, like, why. It was something along the lines of why did the Dodgers, like, let him go or whatever. And he just, like, did not answer the question. They were just like, yeah, let's go to the next question. But, like, it's like, why are you asking that? It's like, focus on right now. But I don't know. I don't remember what the specific question was, but it was just like, it was so strange that that's what they thought to ask him in that particular moment. His reaction is so funny because he just like was like, whatever. Let's go to the next question. But yeah, so this was his second World Series MVP. He won one with the Dodgers back in 2020. And actually, yeah, what's crazy is when he won that World Series MVP, that was during the COVID season, and they played the World Series in the Rangers' home ballpark. So that's actually funny to think about. So it was a little foreshadowing there. And the big thing is, and I know I did come out with a short on this earlier in the week. So Corey Seager joins this exclusive club of players that have won multiple World Series MVP awards. So he joins Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, and Reggie Jackson for multiple World Series MVPs. That is great company right there. Listen, I mean, you have that, you're well on your way to being a Hall of Fame player, and that's great company. I mean, 2 World Series MVPs, and there's only 3 other players that have done that. I mean, that looks great. That looks great on a resume. He actually did also earn the National League Championship Series MVP honors in 2020 as well. Yeah, I mean, the big thing was, I mean, that huge home run in Game 1. That was unbelievable. That was the best. I mean, that was the best game of the series. A lot of excitement there. So Seager has a total of 19 playoff home runs with only Derek Jeter ahead of him. Jeter's got 20. That's among shortstops, I'm assuming. I mean, listen, he had a great regular season as well. 327 batting average, 33 home runs, 42 doubles, which led the American League. I mean, he's going to be up there for the MVP voting as well. So congratulations to Corey Seager on a great season and capped off with the World Series MVP. So then also we move on now to talking about Bruce Bochy. So Bruce Bochy, as a manager, 4 World Series championships. He took a third team to the World Series. He didn't win with the Padres, but 3 with the Giants, now 1 with the Rangers. So as a baseball player, so again, this was an article, I think that CBS, this is where I got all this information from, with CBS releasing an article. So actually, Bruce Bochy made his debut in 1978. He retired after the 1987 season. Really, it didn't seem like he was going to be a manager. There was no indication that he was going to, manage a team. But obviously, yeah, he, managed the Padres, managed the Giants. Now he managed the Rangers. He essentially retired, for managing. He was with the Giants, obviously, like I just said. And they replaced him with Gabe Kapler. And then the Rangers, they got him out of retirement, and he led them to a World Series. I mean, that's crazy. And so he joins Joe Torre and Walter Alston with 4 World Series rings. And listen, I mean, what a Hall of Fame career he's had as a manager. So he has a 6-0 record in winner-take-all games and 14 elimination game wins. I mean, that's unbelievable. And those Giants teams that he managed were great teams as well. Obviously it helps when you got Madison Bumgarner, who was unbelievable in the postseason. Pablo Sandoval and Buster Posey, Hunter Pence, all those guys, Tim Lincecum. Just a bunch of throwbacks with a lot of these names. Because a lot of these guys are gone now. I mean, Brandon Belt's still playing. Well, he might not be playing anymore. Posey recently retired, a couple years ago. Brandon Crawford. A lot of these guys are gone. But that's unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, he what a turnaround, for the Rangers, because this was a team that just was I shouldn't say underachieving, but wasn't very good for a long time. Obviously, they had that, classic of a World Series that they ended up losing in 2011. And they lost the World Series the year before that too, against the Giants. Then they lost against the Cardinals. They were 1 strike away. Natali Feliz was on the mound, and David Freese hits that, ball off the wall. Nelson Cruz doesn't get it. They tie the game. Freese hits the walk-off home run, and then they won in Game 7. And it's crazy that Rangers team never won anything. With Josh Hamilton, Mitch Moreland, I love how I say Mitch Moreland, Adrian Beltre, Andrews, Michael Young, Nelson Cruz, who actually just recently retired. So, he's going to be missed, of course. Another player from the childhood is retiring. They had Cliff Lee on on one of those teams. It's amazing that Ian Kinsler, yeah, I mean, all those guys. I mean, that was a good team. Mike Napoli, I'm just naming guys. I mean, it's amazing that team didn't win, but this team with Bruce Bochy, I mean, you thought when they got Bochy that okay, I mean, now they got a real manager. And the improvements in the rotation. Let's see what this team could do. And this team was good. this team was good. It was a very good offensive team. The rotation, Eovaldi was injured at points during the year. Obviously, DeGrom, with the Tommy John. But they held it together. And, they got criticized for trading for Chapman. But they ended up winning the World Series this year. And, a big part of that is the two guys that are titled in this segment. Is the manager Bruce Bochy and, of course, Corey Seager, who played in a lot of big games with the Dodgers. So, and already won a World Series MVP. So this was nothing new to him. Yeah, I mean, what a ride for the Rangers, really. First championship in franchise history. And, again, like I said in the last segment, this is going to be a good team moving forward. You got Seager locked up, for a while with his contract. You got Semien. And, we'll see, if they keep the other guys in the rotation around. You get DeGrom back, hopefully. It's unfortunate that DeGrom got hurt. And we couldn't see him pitch in the World Series. But, we couldn't really see him pitch at all this year. He really didn't pitch. But, yeah, I mean, this team moving forward is going to be dangerous. And I think from the ESPN article, they had the fourth best odds to win the World Series. I think it went the Braves, the Dodgers, the Astros, the Rangers, and then the Phillies. So, I mean, listen, you keep your guys. I mean, most of these guys will be back next year. I mean, all the young guys will be back. It's really like the rotation. Montgomery, are they going to bring him back? I mean, what's the future with Max Scherzer? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But, like I said, this team is going to be good for a number of years. And also, of course, Adolis Garcia as well, who was an all-star this year and was great in the postseason as well. But, yeah, I mean, the Rangers, they got a good team, and that team is going to be good, should be good for a long time. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show. But again, I just wanted to remind you guys before we go into break, to become part of the show, to make it more interactive, of course, and, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Really helps the show, and like I said, makes it more interactive, makes you part of the show. It highlights your comment, I answer it, I address it on the live broadcast, and it's also on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment. So make sure to go and do that. And with that, we are going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Silver Slugger Award finalists. So we'll go over the players that are listed, and that will be the third part of the show when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to go through the Silver Slugger Award finalists that were announced. So we'll go by position and league. So that'll be the third part of the show here. So in the American League, we'll start off with first base. So we got Tristan Casas of the Red Sox, Yandy Diaz of the Rays, Nathaniel Lau, new World Series champ for the Rangers, and Spencer Torkelson for the Tigers. So, we got a couple of young guys in there. Torkelson, his second year. Casas, his second year. Yandy Diaz, an all-star. Nathaniel Lau, a World Series champ. Tristan Casas, got off to a little bit of a rough start this year, but he ended up finishing with an over 850 OPS, 857, had 24 home runs, 65 RBIs, 263 batting average. I said, I thought he would have a good year. before the season. Well, partly because when I was doing fantasy baseball, I was like, this could be a guy that people are going to sleep on, but ended up performing well. Had a good year. Yandy Diaz, an all-star for the Rays. So in the regular season, 330 batting average, 22 home runs, 78 RBIs, and 932 OPS. So right now, I mean, I'd probably lean towards him at the moment. Torkelson, though, 31 home runs, 94 RBIs, 759 OPS. So he had a great sophomore season because last year he had 8 home runs and 28 RBIs in 110 games. He played in 159 games this year. So, he's definitely could be a guy that wins that. Nathaniel Lau, 17 home runs, 82 RBIs, 262 batting average. I think it's going to come down to so you're either going to see Yandy Diaz or Torkelson. Both guys, though, had great years. So that would probably be the top two as of right now. So then second base, you got Brandon Drury, Gleyber Torres, and Marcus Semien. Gleyber Torres is one of the Yankees' best hitters this year. The Yankees, with their down year, he was at least one of the bright spots for them. He finished with 25 home runs, 68 RBIs, and 800 on the dot OPS. Marcus Semien, World Series champ, of course. In the regular season, he had 29 home runs, 100 RBIs, and 826 OPS. And also Brandon Drury, an unexpected name. 26 home runs, 83 RBIs, and 803 OPS. So we'll see, what happens there. I mean, probably favors Semien at the moment. Third base, you got Bregman, Devers, Isaac Paredes, and Jose Ramirez. Once again, Jose Ramirez, another solid year, 24 home runs, 80 RBIs, 831 OPS. Isaac Paredes of the Rays. He had 31 home runs, 98 RBIs, and 840 OPS, so he had a really good year. Devers, of course, always solid for the Red Sox. 33 home runs, 100 RBIs, 851. And then you got Alex Bregman for the Astros. He had 25 home runs, 98 RBIs, 804 OPS. So, this is going to be a close race here between those four guys over at third base. Then for shortstop, you got J.P. Crawford, Corey Seager, Bobby Witt Jr. Obviously, we talked about Corey Seager. J.P. Crawford had 19 home runs, 65 RBIs, and 818 OPS. Corey Seager, he's also an MVP candidate. 327 batting average, 33 home runs, 96 RBIs, and over 1,000 OPS. It's probably going to be him that wins it. Bobby Witt Jr., his second season was solid. 30 home runs, 96 RBIs, and 814 OPS. So we'll see, but you'd probably lean towards Corey Seager. Corey Seager actually hasn't won a Silver Slugger Award since his back-to-back awards with the Dodgers back in 2016 and 2017. So it's been a while. Then you got a ton of outfielders. You got Randy Arozarena, Adolis Garcia, Aaron Judge, Luis Robert Jr., Julio Rodriguez, Anthony Santander, Kyle Tucker. It's just crazy how Aaron Judge, what he was able to do this year, only playing in 106 games, he hit 37 home runs, had 1,000 OPS. If he stayed healthy, he probably could have got to 60 again. Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena, a couple of all-stars. Adolis Garcia, 39 home runs, 107 RBIs on the season. Randy Arozarena, he had 23 home runs, 83 RBIs. Luis Robert Jr., he had 38 home runs, 80 RBIs. Julio Rodriguez, who did get off to a little bit of a slow start, but ended up having a good season. Very good season. 32 home runs, 103 RBIs, and 818 OPS. Anthony Santander, he had 28 home runs, 95 RBIs, 797 OPS. Very good season for him. And Kyle Tucker of the Houston Astros, 29 home runs, 112 RBIs, 886 OPS. Another solid season for him. So that's it for the American League. Oh wait, actually no, sorry, catcher and designated hitter. So you got Salvador Perez, Cal Raleigh, and Adley Rutschman. So Salvador Perez had a solid year, 23 home runs, 80 RBIs. Raleigh had 30 home runs, 75 RBIs. And then Adley Rutschman, he had a rough postseason. I mean, his postseason numbers, he had an .083 batting average. The regular season, he had 20 home runs and 80 RBIs. So, it'll be a close race there. And then, of course, designated hitter, you got Alvarez and Shohei Ohtani. Alvarez had 31 home runs, 97 RBIs, a 990 OPS. So he had another great season. And then, of course, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, I think we'll see if he wins MVP still. I mean, I feel like he should, but who knows. Before he got hurt, though, 304 batting average, 44 home runs, 95 RBIs at 1,000 OPS. I mean, should still get MVP as well, but we'll see. You also got utility for Silver Slugger. So you got Brandon Drury, Gunnar Henderson, and Whit Merrifield. So Gunnar Henderson, I mean, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate, of course. 28 home runs, 82 RBIs, and 814 OPS. And then they got Isaac Paredes and Brandon Drury. We already went over them. Whit Merrifield, 11 home runs, 67 RBIs, a 700 OPS. Probably give that to Gunnar Henderson. So that's everybody in the National League, or the American League. Then you move on to the National League. You got Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson. Each of these guys had great seasons. Matt Olson, 54 home runs, 139 RBIs, a 993 OPS. Freddie Freeman, his stats on the regular season: 29 home runs, 102 RBIs, 977 OPS, 331 batting average. And then, of course, you got Pete Alonso, 46 home runs on the season, 118 RBIs, and 822 OPS. So, yeah, I mean, each of these guys deserves that award. Matt Olson obviously had the best season out of the three. But, yeah, I mean, all three of these guys were awesome this year. At second base, you had Ozzie Albies, Kento Marte, and, of course, Luis Arraez. Albies, solid year, 33 home runs, 109 RBIs, 849 OPS. Luis Arraez, I mean, obviously the power numbers weren't there for him, of course, because he's not a power hitter, but 354 batting average. I mean, he was batting 400 at one point this year, which is crazy. He had 10 home runs, 69 RBIs, 862 OPS. And then you got Kento Marte for the runner-up Diamondbacks. He was solid in the postseason this year. 329, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs. Yeah, he was good. And in the regular season, he was solid too. 25 home runs, 82 RBIs, 843 OPS. So that's at second base. Third base, you got Arenado, Machado, Muncy, and Austin Riley. Arenado this season, 26 home runs, 93 RBIs, a 774 OPS. Machado, he had 30 home runs, 91 RBIs, 781 OPS. Max Muncy, who actually just got an extension with the Dodgers, he had 36 home runs, 105 RBIs, and 808 OPS. Austin Riley for the Braves, he had 37 home runs, 97 RBIs, 861 OPS. So that's third base. Shortstop, you got Xander Bogaerts, Francisco Lindor, Dansby Swanson, and Trey Turner. Obviously, Trey Turner, he got off to that rough start in Philadelphia, but, was able to turn his season around. Ended up finishing the season 26 home runs, 76 RBIs on the year. Dansby Swanson, who I was injured at one point during the year, he had 22 home runs, 80 RBIs. Francisco Lindor had a solid season for the Mets this year, 31 home runs, 98 RBIs. And then you have Xander Bogaerts for the Padres, 19 home runs, 58 RBIs on the season. And we'll get into the Padres in the next segment, and we'll talk about them, so you don't want to miss that. Of course, in the outfield, you got Acuna, Betts, Bellinger, Corbin Carroll, Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, and Seihei Suzuki. So two Cubs in these. Acuna, obviously, is the front runner for MVP. Mookie Betts, another guy that had a great season. He's probably going to be he's going to be one of the runner-ups. Cody Bellinger, Solid year with the Cubs. Bounce back year for him. Batting over 300, 26 home runs, 97 RBIs, 881 OPS for him. You got Corbin Carroll, who's a Rookie of the Year for the National League. 25 home runs, 76 RBIs for him in the regular season. Kyle Schwarber, of course, weird year for him. 197 batting average, but 47 home runs, 104 RBIs, and 817 OPS. Juan Soto, who we will discuss in a little bit with the Padres. 35 home runs, 109 RBIs, 929 OPS. So you figure he's going to be one of the people that gets that, one of the players that gets it. And Seiya Suzuki, he was solid too this year for the Cubs. 285 batting average, 20 home runs, 74 RBIs. So that's everybody in the outfield for the National League. Then at catcher, you got William Contreras for the Brewers, Sean Murphy, JT Realmuto, and Will Smith. So we'll run through their stats really quick as well. Contreras, 17 home runs, 78 RBIs in the regular season. Sean Murphy, he was good with the Braves this year, 21 home runs, 68 RBIs. JT Realmuto, his season, he had 20 home runs, 63 RBIs on the season. And then Will Smith for the Dodgers. He actually batted .417 in the postseason this year. So he was one of the few bright spots for the Dodgers in that series against the Diamondbacks. So in the regular season, 261 batting average, 19 home runs, 76 RBIs, 797 OPS. Then designated hitter, you got Bryce Harper, JD Martinez, Marcell Ozuna, and Jorge Soler. I mean, Bryce Harper missed some time with the injury, coming back from that. JD Martinez was solid for the Dodgers his first year with them. I think it was only a 1-year deal, so we'll see if they bring him back. 33 home runs, 103 RBIs for him. For Bryce Harper, 16 home. Well, that's his career postseason numbers. This year, 21 home runs, 72 RBIs. Marcell Ozuna with the Braves, 40 home runs, 100 RBIs for him, and then Jorge Soler. He had 36 home runs, 75 RBIs, so a good season for him. And then for utility, they got Bellinger, Betts, and then they got Spencer Steer and Hai-Sung Kim for the Padres. So Kim, 260 batting average, 17 home runs, 60 RBIs, and Spencer Steer for the Reds, he had 23 home runs, 86 RBIs. So those are all the candidates, well, the finalists for the Silver Slugger Award. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys think will get the awards for each position? But yeah, that's basically it when it comes to the Silver Slugger Award. So last year, you had Alejandro Kirk win, Nathaniel Lau won, Jose Altuve, Jose Ramirez, Xander Bogaerts, Judge, Julio Rodriguez, Mike Trout, Yordan Alvarez, and Luis Arraez won last year for the Twins. That was in the American League. This year in the last year in the National League, you had Real Muto, Goldschmidt, Jeff McNeil, Nolan Arenado, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Brandon Drury. And a lot of those players are up for winning the award this year. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's pretty much it, talking about the Silver Slugger finalists. So let me know what you guys think, on who you think will win the Silver Slugger for their respective positions this year. So with that, when we come back from our final break of the show, we are going to talk about the Padres because there's news with them and what they could do moving forward if they're going to have to maybe move some guys possibly with the money troubles that they are dealing with at the moment. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about the Padres and their money troubles that they are dealing with So it was reported that they took out a $50 million loan in September to cover short-term expenses, including player payroll. Now, originally, they were they went to MLB, and the loan was approved by Major League Baseball. They originally wanted $100 million for a loan, but they could only get it to $50 million. So yeah, that was to cover payroll. And the Padres, to start the season, they had a payroll of $248.9 million, which is a franchise record. They were one of the top teams in terms of payroll in baseball, to go along with the Mets and the Yankees. And what happened with those three teams? Those three teams did not make the playoffs. Which was a huge disappointment. Now, the Padres are planning to reduce their payroll to around $200 million. Now, again, this is another article online. Again, CBS. They're planning to reduce their payroll to around $200 million for next season to comply with MLB regulations on debt service ratio. So, they have already committed to $217.8 million for the 2024 season. Now, what's interesting is it's going to be challenging, but also what's interesting is that begs the question, does that mean, is Juan Soto going to get traded? Now, I did post a short about it. The Yankees inquired about Soto. They talked to the Padres, so there's some discussions that could possibly be had. Now, I don't want to sit here and get excited because I know I'll probably be disappointed. But this is insane because the Padres, they've spent a lot of money. Signing Tatis to that big contract, Bogarts to the huge contract that he signed. You know, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. They're going to have to let some of these guys go. And, Juan Soto, listen, you're going to have to pay him if you want to keep him, but they might not be. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to afford to keep him. So they might look to trade him and trade him to a team that has the assets, to get him. And the Yankees are one of those teams. There's a package that the Yankees could definitely put together to get him. Now, for me, obviously, I don't want to give up Dominguez. I don't want to give up. Well, Volpe's definitely not going anywhere. But Dominguez might be the guy that the Yankees are going to have to move. And I don't want that to happen, but to get a guy like Juan Soto who would change, this team, because the Yankees need, they need something. Because right now, what they have is not good. And is not enough. So getting Juan Soto would definitely change, how myself as other Yankee and a lot of Yankee fans would view the team going into next year. Because right now, if the Yankees run it back with the same team, they're not going to do anything. But, with the Padres, I mean, they tried to go for it, essentially. And they only won 82 games. Towards the end of the season, like I was talking about, hey, if they, win all these games, they could possibly sneak into the playoffs. It's possible. But, that ended up not being the case. They missed the playoffs. They were under 500 for most of the year. The clubhouse, there was stuff going on with that. Yeah, they just, it was a disappointment. And now this coming out that they had to take out a loan to pay, the salary of these players. They can't afford what they're doing. So they're going to have to let some guys go. They're going to have to trade some people, possibly. It's not good. It's not good. They took a big step back because they went to the championship series, last year. And This year, they didn't even make the playoffs. And this is signing Bogarts and Tatis coming back from the suspension. You thought this team was going to be a team to be reckoned with. And that was not the case. A huge disappointment. And now, with the news that's come out with them taking out a loan, I mean, yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. And, it's it said in the article, they're trying to reduce payroll, but, I mean, what does that mean for Juan Soto? I mean, you're not going to be able to afford him. So you're going to have to let either you ride out the final year of his contract and you let him go in free agency, or you trade him during the year, or, team comes to them and says, we'll give you all this for Soto, and they take it. So it's really interesting, with that, because I mean, I don't know how they weren't able to put it together, but there was definitely a lot going on that we don't know about, and they're going to be looking for a new manager because Bob Melvin left to go manage the Giants, which, I mean, I thought he was going back to the Padres, but I guess not. So that also shows you another thing too. Like he probably had enough of it, of what was going on. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation with the Padres, and I mean, you saw a team that won 84 games. The Diamondbacks, think about it, Diamondbacks only won 2 more games than the Padres did this year. And they made it all the way to the World Series. They swept the Dodgers. How do you think that makes the Padres feel? I mean, the Padres did knock the Dodgers out of the playoffs last year. But like, how does that make the Padres feel that, like, they underachieved and you're watching a team that won 2 more games than you? You won 82, they won 84. They made it all the way to the World Series. So, and now you got your old manager managing a division rival in the Giants. So, I don't know. There's some question marks there on what they're going to do. I mean, for me, like I said, I think you at least give it one more year. You run it back, and, if you don't do well, then you tear it down. But they might not be able to run it back with a lot of these guys because they can't afford it. They're losing money, or they just don't have enough money. To cover a lot of these. I mean, you give Bogarts, what was it, an 11-year contract? Tatis signed like a 14-year contract. I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely gonna have to shave some payroll. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, Juan Soto is going to be a topic that is going to be discussed a ton in the offseason, because the Padres could decide, yeah, we're going to move him. And a team's going to, I mean, who wouldn't want Juan Soto, really? I mean, the Padres might have to get rid of him. So, like, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, they're not going to want to trade him, but they're going to have to. Because, I mean, they could get a ton back for him. And, listen, for me, I'm hoping it's the Yankees that get him. But, again, I'm not very confident in the team right now. Now, Aaron Judge is having conversations with the front office, so you would hope that, like, he's saying, if you can get him, go get him. Because he would be a perfect fit for the Yankees. He would be a perfect fit. If you got him there, we need left-handed bats. That's what we need. That short porch in right field. He is a perfect fit for that. It's a no-brainer. Now, you're going to have to give up a lot to get him. But you have the assets to go and get him. So go get him. And look, the Padres, again, like you're trying to shave off payroll. Well, this is a great way to do that. I just still think it's crazy how the top three teams, when it comes to payroll, right? Yankees, Mets, Padres. All three of them missed the playoffs. All three. And now the Padres are looking to, shave off payroll. So, I mean, we'll see. But Padres are going to be, one of the teams to, keep an eye on during the offseason. So, but yeah, I mean, now we are in the offseason. I kept talking about it, leading up to it. Like, hey, playoffs are coming up, and then that's going to go fast, and then we're going to be in the offseason. The season's going to be like, what are we going to talk about? But we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Obviously, I mean, the World Series, was Game 6 and 7 could have been, tonight and tomorrow. But Rangers wrapped it up in 5 games, and that was the end of it. So and basically got to talk about the whole World Series, and we had a champ to talk about, so that was good. But I thought this was the Padres stuff I thought was a big story, because it's like you got a bunch of star players, and you don't have the money to maybe afford paying their salaries. I mean, you're going to have to do something. And, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a topic that's going to be discussed all throughout the offseason. We'll see how it all pans out. Like, they're going to let guys go. I mean, they're going to have to trade maybe some people. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, like I said, it's definitely going to be something to keep your eyes on in the offseason. And obviously, we'll have the offseason covered with, trade rumors, extensions. Because now, like, here we are, free agency. That's all going to be coming up. So, we'll definitely, of course, talk about it. And, yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the show today. Another doubleheader down, of course. It was a great 2 hours, of course. Had the little half-hour gap in between. So really, like, what I did was, once I was done with, like, the football podcast, I just, changed up all the, the graphics, the scenes, because it's all, like, on one, like, page. But, I just scroll back up to the baseball and, change the segment titles, of course. So it was a quick and easy thing. And especially, like, having the half hour, to have that all set up definitely helps. But yeah, I mean, another doubleheader down. So baseball season's over. Don't worry, we'll still have content coming out. Watch out for the shorts that I'll have coming out later in the day. Well, not later in the day, but throughout the day. Keep an eye on those. Catch up on the shows that you missed. I'm working on getting yesterday's football show reposted to 4 parts, so look out for that. I'll be getting that out within the coming hours. So make sure to keep an eye on that. Like I said, shorts will be coming out throughout the day. And that's it. So I thank you guys for tuning in once again. We'll be back again on Monday for the football podcast, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, for the baseball podcast, that is every Friday now at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder once again, signing off from the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. And for the football podcast, I will see you guys on Monday. Take care, and I will see you then.